My spouse suddenly suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, and we needed money urgently for treatment. I immediately called my son. As soon as I mentioned money, he exploded. Money, money, money. All you care about is money. If you hadn't insisted so much on having a child back then, would we be this poor now? After saying that, he immediately hung up the phone. I then called my daughter-in-law, and as soon as she answered, she started scolding me relentlessly. Mom, don't you know how expensive it is to raise a child? How house tutoring and extracurricular classes cost money everywhere. Do you want to drive us to ruin? A voice from the other end of the phone chimed in. Lily, Mom is just trying to scam money. Block her right away. The phone screen went dark, and so did my heart. My husband missed the optimal time for rescue and passed away in the hospital corridor on the day of the burial. My son called, starting with an accusation. Why hasn't Dad's pension been deposited this month? We had an agreement that the money would be used to raise the child. Now you're reneging on your promise. How can you be so selfish? Parents in the world. I stared at my late wife's photo on the tombstone, tears streaming down my face. Your father had no money for medical treatment. He's dead. My son paused for a moment. Then what about house interest classes? Mom, you need to find a job quickly and make up the money. At that moment, I knew my son was dead too. I crashed into the tombstone when I opened my eyes again. I was back on the day of my first labor. This time, they can have kids if they want, or not. It's up to them. 01. Mom, Dad, I'm child-free. I'm not having kids. Hearing that, I knew I had been reborn. I found myself back on the day I first tried to pressure my childless daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law, Yaoli, sat across the table, arrogantly declaring that she was child-free, just as she had in my previous life. But this time, I didn't panic and cry or beg like I had before. I looked at my elderly spouse beside me, who was serving me food, and felt a lump form in my throat. As long as he is still alive, nothing else matters, Yaoli continued. Having children is my right. Besides, for me, having children is harmful to my health, hurts my feelings, and ruins my future. It's all downsides and no benefits. So, Mom and Dad, don't try to emotionally blackmail me into having children. Mom and Dad will only understand and help us. They definitely won't emotionally blackmail us. Our son, Zhang Chao, eagerly put us on a pedestal and then urged us to respond. Right, Mom and Dad. My wife frowned and was about to speak, but I held her hand to stop her. In my previous life, I almost knelt down, saying that a home without children lacks liveliness, that a life without children is unhappy, and that I feared they would be lonely in their old age. In the end, what I got in return was her using having a child as leverage to demand a house, money, a pension, and even expecting us to take care of the child 24/7. In this life, I am utterly calm. Don't worry, I won't guilt trip you. The two didn't hear the desperate pleas they had imagined, their faces showing slight surprise. Yaeli forced a calm expression. Mom and Dad, you truly understand the situation, thinking from each other's perspective, for the sake of our family having an heir. And so you can hold your heads high in front of relatives and friends. I'll make an exception and sacrifice myself to have a child, but I have 5 small conditions. If you agree, I'll have the baby right away. The idea of a child-free couple having a child was just a pretense. The real purpose was to set conditions. I put down my chopsticks and looked at her calmly. Go ahead. Yaeli cleared her throat and spoke seriously. First, pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, childbirth, and breastfeeding all cause irreversible damage to the mother. I don't want more. Just give me 1 million yuan for physical damages. Second, to ensure the child's education, the school district house must be transferred into my name. Her husband was so shocked that his hands began to tremble. 1 million, no more, no less, was exactly our entire savings, plus the transfer of the house. It was clearly meant to drain us completely. I held my wife's trembling hand, calming her, and gestured for Yaeli to continue. Third, I have no experience and can't take care of the child. After the baby is born, you must take care of the child around the clock, and you cannot refuse for any reason. Fourth, raising a child is expensive. You must hand over all your pensions, and I will give you 1,000 yuan a month for living expenses. Fifth, the monthly mortgage for our new house is currently being paid by you. From now on, you will continue to work and earn money to cover it. After finishing her words, she picked up her cup, took a sip of water, and added one more sentence. There's no other way. Raising a child requires the whole family to pitch in. Since it's the Zhang family's bloodline, it's only right that you put in more effort. She is determined to wring us dry, and my wife's hands trembled more and more as she listened, but since I kept holding her hand, she could only keep giving me meaningful looks. Zhang Chao secretly observed my expression. Seeing that I wasn't the least bit angry, he thought I was happily agreeing. He let out a sigh and grinned at Yaeli, their eyes meeting in a shared smile. Mom, Dad, if you have No objections, give us your retirement cards, bank cards, and property deeds. Lee and I will start preparing for pregnancy tonight. We'll make sure you have a big, healthy grandson by next year. I slowly ladled a bowl of soup and placed it in front of my wife before speaking. You've set your conditions, money, a house, free labor, I understand, but having a child, we have our conditions too. I'm sure you'll understand, right? My wife looked at me in surprise. My son was taken aback, not expecting that instead of being grateful, I would even add conditions. Yali thought it was just a warning about having a boy. She already favored boys, so she naturally looked dismissive. Of course, 02, my lips curved slightly. First, having children is a private matter for you two. We will never interfere, whether to have children, when to have them, the gender, and how many, these are all your choices. Yao Li's expression shifted slightly, and she could only respond with sarcasm. Mom, you'd better truly think that way. Zhang Chao wanted to speak, but I glared at him. He swallowed his words. Second, our savings and retirement funds are our security for old age and will not be used to support your decision to have children. Yao Li, who had just been making sarcastic remarks, instantly turned grim. If you're not going to help, then stop pressuring us to have kids. You want grandchildren but aren't willing to contribute. How can you expect such a good deal, seeing that I wasn't saying anything? Zhang Chao became anxious. Mom, didn't you always want to hold your grandchild? You even said. I slapped Zhang Chao across the face. No manners. I haven't finished speaking yet. How dare you interrupt? Zhang Chao covered his face, completely stunned. Yao Li was also stunned, her face filled with disbelief. Third, the house is our home as an elderly couple and will not be transferred to anyone. Fourth, we have no obligation to help you take care of the children. If we occasionally help, it is out of affection, not duty. The time and manner will be decided by us. Fifth, helping you with your new home mortgage payments is because we see that you're living beyond your means. We'll pay if we want to, and we won't if we don't. We're not going to let you make decisions for us. My wife's mouth hung open, staring at me in shock from beginning to end. Zhang Chao grew anxious. Mom, do you still want to have a grandson or not? I shot back. If I want a grandson, you have to have one. Then if I want the moon in the sky, will you go pick it for me? Zhang Chao was speechless after I confronted him. Yao Li turned her face away in anger. Mom, if you don't want a grandson, then forget it. I don't have to have one. I was originally child-free by choice. It was Zhang Chao who said you were getting old and wanted to hold a grandchild, so I reluctantly considered your wishes. But now, you just talk and expect me to carry a child for 10 months, ruin my figure, and risk my life. How selfish and self-centered can you be? I smiled and said, so don't have kids. It's fine the way you've always been child-free. Zhang Chao was completely flustered. Mom, do you have to be like this? You were just pushing for us to have kids, and now that Lily finally agrees to have one, why are you suddenly against it? I cut him off. That was then, this is now. As parents, I should respect your choice to remain child-free. You can have kids if you want, or not, no problem. But let me give you a friendly reminder, if you're set on being child-free, you might as well get sterilized early. What if you get halfway through and then stop, and later you want to have children but can't? Or what if one of you can't hold out and ends up having a child with someone else? Wouldn't that affect your relationship as a couple? Yao Li's face turned pale and then flushed with anger at my words. She probably never imagined that the threat of being child-free and not having children would completely backfire on her. With me furious, she grabbed her bag and stormed out, saying, fine, then don't blame me for letting the Zhang family line die out. The door slammed shut loudly. Zhang Chao hurriedly chased after him. I snorted coldly and withdrew my gaze. Having raised such an ungrateful wretch like Zhang Chao, the Zhang family line has already come to an end. 03 My husband sighed. Guifang, you've always wanted to hold a grandson. Why have you suddenly changed your mind? I gripped his hand, recalling how he had lain in the hospital corridor, abandoned and unattended, in my previous life, and tears streamed down my face. He thought I was upset over the 5 conditions set by our daughter-in-law, and hurriedly wiped my tears. Guifang, children and grandchildren have their own blessings. As parents, we should support them as much as we can, but if we truly can't, there's no need to force ourselves. But if you really want to hold a grandchild, I can swallow my pride and talk to our son to see if we can ease the conditions a bit. In my previous life, my husband didn't agree to their harsh conditions at all. It was me who insisted, using the argument that parents should fully support their children and grandchildren, to persuade him to agree. We emptied our savings and gathered 1 million. The house was also transferred. After handing over the pension card, we could only receive 1,000 yuan per month for living expenses. After our grandson was born, we moved in to live with them, becoming 24-hour free. babysitters to continue paying their mortgage. My elderly partner had to go out and do manual labor at such an old age, working so hard that they couldn't even straighten their back. Not only did Jelly show no gratitude, but she also imposed strict rules. The child must be picked up within 5 seconds of crying, clothes must be hand-washed and disinfected, every meal must have at least 5 dishes and 1 soup, and not a speck of dust could be left on the floor. If she was even slightly dissatisfied, she would vent on social media, saying things like, "Some shameless elders who pressured us to have children talk a good game but do things half-heartedly." What's even worse is that, under the pretext of needing more space for the child to move around, she forced us out of the study and onto the balcony. The year my child started middle school, I was no longer useful and was kicked out. I rented a small, old, and dilapidated place for $500 a month, and the remaining money was barely enough for food. My wife couldn't stand it and insisted on asking our daughter-in-law to return the retirement savings card, but I also thought, raising a child isn't easy. As parents, every hardship we endure helps raise the starting point for our children and grandchildren, so I persuaded my wife to compromise again and again. In the end, the compromise cost even my wife's life. Thinking of this, I wished I could slap myself hard. 04. You're not actually going to agree to all their demands, are you? My wife said, deeply worried. They're clearly trying to squeeze us dry until there's nothing left. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid, I reassured her. My wife sighed. I don't know when it started, but having children has become a way for young couples to control their parents. If things get too bad, we'll use our savings to pay off their mortgage in full. Without the mortgage, they'll have no pressure, and they'll naturally have children without us having to push them. She lowered her voice again. But you have to listen to me. The pension is our retirement security. No matter what, we can't give it to them. You always say that raising children means giving them your all, but I think pushing them forward doesn't really mean much. My spouse has always been clearer-headed than I am. It was only to accommodate me that he gradually gave in. Since I've been given a second chance at life, I won't be making meaningless sacrifices anymore. We have supported our son enough. Since he was young, he has had the best of everything: food, clothing, and daily necessities. He didn't enjoy studying, but we still managed to get him into university through tutoring. After graduation, we helped him find a job and spend over $1,000,000 on his wedding, buying a house, and a car. Our duty as parents is done. Whether they choose to become parents or not, we shouldn't worry about it anymore. My wife thought I was speaking out of anger and kept explaining that it wasn't that he didn't trust our son, but that we needed to leave some room for ourselves. I smiled and took him out the door. Never mind them. Our top priority now is to take good care of ourselves, enjoy our later years, and strive to live to 99. Seeing that I was serious, my wife relaxed, then firmly squeezed my hand back and joked, "You're really easy to please. Just living to 99 is enough. I think we should aim for 100. I couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time, thinking about how he passed away at only 70 in his previous life. My heart aches once more. In truth, my husband had always been in robust health. It was only because he had to help our son with the monthly mortgage payments that he spent his days laboring on construction sites, and in the evenings, to lighten my load, he would come home to care for our grandson, do the laundry, and mop the floors. Our daughter-in-law, holding our eagerness for a grandchild over our heads, was perpetually dissatisfied and critical of everything. An elderly man, well into his years, was ordered around by his son and daughter-in-law as if he were a beast of burden. Even my grandson How shouted at us. I also fell ill from the heavy housework. On the day my spouse died from a brain hemorrhage, he was still working hard to move bricks, planning to save money to buy medicine for me. It was precisely because of my complete support for my children and grandchildren that we, at an age when we should have been enjoying a peaceful retirement, suffered greatly. In this life, I just want to be with my old partner, living freely and happily, and living a long life. 05. We spent the afternoon in the park, then went to a restaurant for a fancy meal we usually couldn't afford, and happily posted about it on social media before slowly heading home. As soon as we opened the door, Zhang Chao was sitting on the sofa with a dark expression, looking like he was ready to confront us. You all are quite carefree, strolling in the park and enjoying a feast, while I've been starving at home waiting for you all this time. I put down my bag and said calmly, "You're in your 30s, if you're hungry, can't you eat on your own? Do you really need us to feed you?" Zhang Chao was left speechless, his expression turning even uglier. Lily was so upset she went back to her parents' house. What exactly is the plan regarding having a child? The old partner placed the shopping bag on top of the shoe cabinet. Have we not made it clear enough? You want a house, money, pension, and expect us to be You're 24-hour babysitters. Do you see us as ATMs or old draft animals? Zhang Chao shot up from his seat. How come I'm the old draft animal? Other parents push their kids to have kids, and don't they all give cars, houses, and money? You're not even giving a penny, yet you still want to be grandparents. I gave him a cold look. First, we didn't push you to have kids. Second, we respect your choice to be child-free. So we never plan to be grandparents. Third, even if you decide to have kids now, it's your own business. Don't try to guilt-trip us with morality. Zhang Chao saw that we were unmoved, and grew so anxious that his face turned red and his neck strained. You're just selfish. Other parents would sell everything they have to support their children, but you, holding on to your money, you'd rather let it rot than spend it on your own grandchildren. My wife and I exchanged a glance, too tired to argue further, and picked up the watering can before turning to head toward the balcony. Seeing us leave, Zhang Chao hurried after us, his tone softening slightly. Dad, Mom, I know you're just speaking out of anger. How about this? Let's all take a step back. You go apologize to Lily and agree to those 5 conditions, and we'll consider today's matter settled. Okay. My partner suddenly turned around and slapped him across the face. Zhang Chao covered his cheek and shouted at me, Mom, look at Dad. Do something about him. I put down the watering can and clapped my hands. All right. I'll do something about it. Zhang Chao let out a light hum, a look of smugness on his face. He must have thought I'd do what I always did, clean up the mess for his dad. 06. I swung my hand hard and slapped Zhang Chao several times in the face. Zhang Chao, you have hands, feet, and a job. Instead of working hard to earn money and support your family, you're always thinking about our meager savings. Your father and I paid for your education, helped you find a job, assisted you in buying a house and car, married you off, and even helped with your mortgage. Wasn't every one of those things a form of support? Do you really think we only supported you if you could live off us without working, just lying around all your life? Now you have the nerve to turn around and accuse us of being selfish. Feel your conscience, see if it's still there. Zhang Chao covered his face, feeling both anxious and angry. Mom, you're making such a fuss just because you think Lily's demands are too much, but she's a dink. She's giving up her principles for you, having a grandson for you, and continuing the Zhang family line. What's wrong with you two being a little more patient and making some sacrifices? I immediately shot back. Who asked her to have a child? If she's a dink, then be a proper dink. Don't switch back and forth between being one and not being one, and don't use the excuse of continuing the Zhang family line to pressure me. I'm surnamed Wang, not Zhang. Zhang Chao was about to get angry at me, but as soon as he glared, his wife slapped him across the face. What kind of attitude is that toward your mother? You've really raised a thankless child. Zhang Chao trembled with anger. I've never seen parents treat their son like this. Fine, don't expect me to take care of you in your old age from now on, without me to support you until the end. You can just fend for yourselves. With that, he turned and walked away. Stop, I called out to him. Zhang Chao thought I had finally given in. Turning back with a smug look on his face, admit you were wrong. If you want me to forgive you, you'll have to kneel down and beg. Looking at his expression, I once again realized that my wife was indeed more clear-headed than me. I had truly raised an ungrateful wolf. Since I can't count on you for support in my old age, starting this month, I won't help you with your mortgage payments anymore. You're on your own. Trying to steal a chicken but losing the rice instead. Zhang Chao's eyes widened in shock, almost popping out of his head. He shouted furiously, Fine, just wait and see. No one will care for you in your old age, and you'll have no descendants. That threat only works on my past self. I've finally figured it out in this second life. I have a house, savings, a pension, and a loving partner. No ungrateful children in sight. Life couldn't be more comfortable anyway. Children have their own blessings. Without children, I'll just enjoy my own happiness. 07. I posted something on my social media circle. The text read, not having children is the greatest respect for them. Whether you're child-free or not, your children's lives should be decided by themselves. Friends and family members left comments asking what had happened. I told them honestly that my daughter-in-law calls herself a dink. I won't pressure them to have children, and I accept the fact of having no grandchildren. In my previous life, my son always brainwashed me, saying that without grandchildren, I would be pointed at and looked down upon wherever I went. Now I realize that my head is held up just fine. Less than an hour, the son and daughter-in-law couldn't sit still any longer. They posted a message on their social media feed, with every word carrying a hidden meaning. Some people talk about respect, but in reality, they're just selfish. They've enjoyed their whole lives, and when it's time to contribute to the next generation, they start talking about respect. The accompanying image showed an elderly person being Severely beaten by a caregiver in a nursing home. As soon as this post went up, the family group chat instantly erupted. My brother was the first to jump in. Zhang Chao, are you talking about your mom in your moments? Zhang Chao replied, Uncle, I didn't mention anyone by name. Whoever feels guilty can take it personally. Before I could say anything, my niece couldn't stand it anymore. Auntie respects your choice to be child-free, but you're being so passive-aggressive. What's the meaning of that picture? Are you cursing Auntie to end up in a nursing home and get beaten? Yao Li immediately chimed in, Cousin, you're overthinking it. We just casually shared it, showing concern for the elderly and their retirement issues. My niece replied quickly, instead of worrying about retirement issues, it would be better to treat your aunt and uncle well now. My brother added, exactly, your parents have worked hard their whole lives. It's your turn to show filial piety. Zhang Chao and Yao Li didn't expect to be criticized and began using the same rhetoric they had used to brainwash me. You all have outdated ideas. Nowadays, parents are devoted entirely to their children, selflessly giving without expecting anything in return. For the sake of our parents, we, as dinks, made an exception and had children, but they say they respect us while contributing nothing, forcing us to the point where we can't even afford to leave an heir for the Zhang family. What kind of parents are these if not selfish and self-serving? Many relatives actually agree with this statement. For a moment, the group chat erupted into chaos. Some people sided with me, saying the young couple was ungrateful. Others tried to smooth things over, saying family members shouldn't damage their harmony. Still, some privately messaged me, advising me to let it go and not push the child too hard. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, my wife was so angry her hands were shaking, wanting to call and scold our son, but I stopped her. I poured him a cup of tea. Don't rush, let them argue. Soon, the family group chat has already racked up 99 plus unread messages. I scrolled through the chat history and found that it was my brother who had the final say. Stop arguing. I finally get it now. Guifang may have stopped pressuring them to have kids, but someone else isn't happy about it. They won't even let her stop pressuring them. They're forcing her to keep pushing. What is this? It's using having children as a bargaining chip and treating the elderly like fools. His words were too blunt, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. The group fell silent instantly. I smiled, then asked my wife to call the bank's account manager and stop the monthly mortgage payments for Zhang Chao 08. The story of the child-free daughter-in-law forcing her mother-in-law to have a child spread like wildfire among friends and relatives. Some say I did the right thing, while others say I was too heartless, but I don't care about any of that. Instead, it was my close friend Shufan who made a special trip to visit me at home. As soon as she walked in, she gave me a thumbs up and said, Guifang, you've finally come to your senses. I poured her a cup of tea, smiled, and said nothing. She took the cup and started talking non-stop. I told you a long time ago, those two were just using the Dink label as a cover. They were actually trying every way possible to drain you. You wouldn't believe me back then, now I believe it. I sighed. Shufan glanced at me and added, don't be soft-hearted. If you fall into their trap of fake child-free couples who are really just scamming money, they'll eat you up, bone by bone. I said, no more, never again in this lifetime. Shufan nodded with satisfaction and continued chatting with me. Being a parent is so hard. No matter what you do, it's wrong. It's wrong to have a child, wrong to raise them poorly, and wrong to not give them a wealthy life. No, it's even worse, refusing to have children is also wrong. I nodded. So now I've figured it out. Since it's going to be wrong either way, better to have a short mistake than a long one. If I don't push for a baby, at most I'll just get a few words of criticism now. But if I do push, then all the unhappiness the young couple will face for the rest of their lives will be blamed on me. If they live well, it's expected. If they live poorly, it's my fault for pushing them to have a child. I'm not taking on such a huge burden. Shufan slapped her thigh. Exactly, whether they have a child or not, it's their own business. We should just stay out of it. Before leaving, Shufan gave me a long list of warnings. Be careful, those two are sharp. Just wait and see. Within a month, they'll definitely come back trying to win you over. Don't fall for it then. After seeing her off, I sat on the sofa, recalling the advice she had given me in my previous life. Guifang, don't be fooled by them. They claim to be dinks, but in reality, they'll have children as long as they get paid. This is essentially a business of selling babies. You can't keep spoiling them like this. The child is theirs, so why should you spend your money and effort without getting any appreciation in return? Look at your husband. He's already exhausted. If this continues, he'll end up sacrificing his life sooner or later. You treat them like your own children and grandchildren, lifting them up, but they treat you like beasts of burden to be Used, can't you see that clearly? I heard every single word, yet I didn't take any of it to heart. I always thought that families shouldn't be so calculating, that as parents we should do everything to support our children and grandchildren, and that if I just endured a little longer, it would all pass. So what's the outcome? Our son and daughter-in-law don't treat us like human beings, and even our grandson, how, yells at us. Enduring to the very end. My partner is gone, and so am I in this life. I will no longer push for childbirth. Nor will I be that desperate person who constantly supports others. But Shufan was right. Child-free is just a cover. The real goal is property and money. If my son and daughter-in-law can't get the money, they'll surely come back again. Sure enough, less than half a month later, they couldn't sit still anymore. 09. The door was kicked open and Zhang Chao and Yali stood outside, their faces as dark as if they had come to collect a debt. As soon as Zhang Chao entered, he pointed at my nose and yelled, "Mom, what do you mean by this? You just stopped the mortgage payments without a word, and the bank has already called to demand payment. Do you know how much a credit default will affect my credit score?" I sat on the sofa without moving a muscle. "I made it very clear last time that you should pay your own monthly mortgage. I've helped you pay for 3 years, a total of 150,000 yuan, and I've already done more than enough." Yao Li sneered, "More than enough? We even broke our dink principle to give you a grandson, and you're unwilling to pay a mere 4,000 yuan monthly mortgage." Zhang Chao immediately chimed in, "What kind of parents in the world don't love their children like you? You have money but won't help us pay the mortgage, as if you want to starve us to death." He started talking about debt as soon as he opened his mouth, just asking for a beating. I put down my teacup, stood up, and slapped him across the face. Over and over, it's always the same lines. I'm sick of hearing them. "If you've got nothing else to say, get out of here." I pushed them toward the door, making up my mind in my heart, change the lock after they leave, so I don't get startled by some debt collector barging in unexpectedly. Zhang Chao was stunned by my slap. After snapping out of it, he wedged his foot in the doorframe, refusing to let me close the door. "Mom, just because we brought up a few small conditions, you're being so petty. Do you know how long Lily has been giving me a hard time over this? Are you really going to be happy only when you've driven us to divorce?" Yao Li stood behind him, but her eyes kept peering through the crack in the door into the room, probably looking at that newly bought massage chair. "In my previous life, my spouse always wanted a massage chair. With our combined monthly pension of 10,000 yuan, most of it went to support Zhang Chao, and we simply couldn't afford a 4,000 yuan massage chair. Only in this life did I realize that without supporting them, I could buy whatever I wanted." Seeing that I remained silent, Zhang Chao nudged Jelly and gave her a meaningful look. Only then did Jelly reluctantly speak up. "Mom, I'm not someone who doesn't understand reason. Here's the deal. For the sake of continuing the Zhang family line and so you and Dad can hold a grandson soon, I'm willing to sacrifice myself and lower my standards." I looked at her expression and said nothing. She cleared her throat, as if making a great concession. "First, the 1 million doesn't need to be given all at once. Start with 800,000, and the rest can be given after the child is born. Second, the house doesn't need to be transferred to me, just transfer it to the child. Third, give us the pension card, and we will pay you 2,000 yuan per month for living expenses. Fourth, you can help take care of the child after birth, but not around the clock. You take care during the day, and we take care at night. Fifth, for the monthly mortgage payment of 4,000, you will cover 2,000. After hearing this, I almost laughed out of anger. "Is this what you call lowering the conditions?" "It's just a different way of saying it. Continuing to exploit us completely." "Finished?" I asked. Yao Li was momentarily stunned, then nodded. "Then get out of here," I said, slamming the door shut. Zhang Chao's hand was still stuck in the doorframe, firmly pinched, causing him to grimace in pain. "Mom, don't go too far. Lily, a dink, has already compromise to this extent. What more do you want? Besides, I'm your own son. Who else would you give your money to? Can you take it with you when you die?" Just then, his wife happened to return from grocery shopping. He put down the grocery basket, grabbed Zhang Chao by the collar, and slapped him across the face. "You ungrateful bastard, you're hoping we die." Zhang Chao covered his face and took a step back. I stared calmly into his eyes and said seriously, "Zhang Chao, I'll say this one last time, I don't need you to have children for me, whether you're child-free or not. It's none of my business. You live your life. I'll spend my money. Do you understand?" Zhang Chao wanted to say something more, but his wife walked in carrying a vegetable basket and added, "Everyone should live their own lives and not interfere with each other." Zhang Chao tried to argue back, but I slapped him into silence. Both of them were instantly left speechless. Yao Li dragged Zhang Chao away, still turning Back to throw a thread at the hallway entrance. Just wait and see. There will be a day you regret this. I ignored her, calmly closed the door, and turned on the power to the massage chair. Honey, come try out your chair. 10. The next day, my sister-in-law called. Most of the Zhang family relatives love to watch jokes. Unlike my brother and niece, they truly care about me. In my previous life, when my husband and I were at our most difficult, it was my brother, my niece, and my best friend Shufin who helped us out. What about the Zhang family relatives? They claimed they would try to persuade Zhang Chao, but in reality, they couldn't wait to see us fail, so there's no need to guess. I already know what this phone call is about. Sure enough, the first words out of her mouth were a string of accusations. Her tone was exactly the same as that ungrateful Zhang Chao's. Guifang, I heard about the situation with the kids. You're being a bit unreasonable here. It's a good thing that the young couple wants to have a child. Why are you standing in their way? Isn't it our duty as parents to think about our children's well-being? I listened patiently and calmly replied, elder sister-in-law, I'm not stopping them from having a child, but I won't agree to being forced to bankrupt myself just so they can have one. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone before the voice suddenly rose sharply. What kind of talk is this? The child is a descendant of the Zhang family. It's only right that you contribute money and effort. Look at your brother-in-law back then. He even quit smoking to support your nephew's education. I cut her off. I won't go into detail about the time and energy spent raising Zhang Chao. Just his education, marriage, buying a house, and a car alone cost over 3 million yuan. Isn't that enough? He's in his 30s now, and having a child still requires his parents to go bankrupt. There's no justification for this, no matter how you look at it. Besides, when I gave birth to Zhang Chao back then, I didn't see my in-laws contributing a single cent or lifting a finger. Elder sister, even if we're talking about double standards, this isn't how it's done. My aunt was left speechless, stammering as she tried to say something more, but I simply hung up the phone. In the following days, Zhang's various aunts and uncles took turns calling to try to persuade me. Some said I was selfish, others said I was immature, and some hinted that if I didn't give money, I shouldn't expect my son to support me. In my old age, I replied uniformly, I don't need Zhang Chao to support me in my old age. Gradually, the calls became fewer. 11. The final wave of pressure came from Yali's mother. I know this mother-in-law well. She is deeply patriarchal, valuing sons over daughters. In the previous life, the 1 million and the house that Yali took from me were immediately used to marry off her younger brother from her family. Funny thing is, after the child was born, the in-laws didn't even come to see him once, saying that since the grandson belonged to someone else, there was no point in coming to see him. She sat in my living room, legs crossed, eating the sunflower seeds I had bought, looking like she was there to negotiate. Dear mother-in-law, let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart. Lily has been spoiled by me since she was little. Her temper is a bit strong, but her heart isn't bad. She's child-free, and she's willing to have a child for your Zhang family. That's your blessing. I said nothing, sipping my tea slowly. Seeing that I didn't respond, she continued awkwardly, you see, the conditions Lily proposed aren't really that unreasonable. Raising a child these days is so expensive, from pregnancy to kindergarten, it's hard to get by without at least 1 million or so. If you contribute some money and effort, when the child grows up, won't they still call you grandpa and grandma? I put down my teacup and looked at her calmly. Mother-in-law, since raising a child is so expensive, why don't you contribute a bit? After all, when the child grows up, he'll have to call you grandma. Her face instantly fell. I'm her family. How can family members pay for her? Besides, I don't even have the surname Zhang. What does this child have to do with me? I smiled. Funny thing, I don't have the surname Zhang either. The in-law mother was speechless. I stopped cracking sunflower seeds and just grabbed my bag and left. As I reached the door, I turned back and threw out a final remark. No wonder your family line will die out. This is all your fault. I leaned against the sofa, listening to the heavy sound of the door slamming shut, yet my heart felt strangely calm. Die out. There's no throne to inherit anyway, so being childless is fine. Besides, without my house and that million, her son probably won't even be able to get a wife in this lifetime. Double infertility, but not a loss either. 12. Another month passed. Zhang Chao suddenly sent a photo. It was an ultrasound report, which read intrauterine pregnancy, approximately 6 weeks. There were several voice messages following the photo. Mom, Lily is pregnant, and you're about to become a grandmother. I know you're still angry with us, but you can't take it out on your grandchild, can you? Mom, you know my salary is low. After paying the mortgage, there's hardly anything left, and I simply can't afford to raise a child. Please, as the child's grandparents, help us out. We're not asking for much, just the house And 500,000, I promise I'll work hard to support the child, and when you're old, we'll take good care of you. If it were in my previous life, I would have already softened at his pitiful tone, but in this life, I read the message, yet my heart remained completely calm. They voluntarily lowered their demands, only asking for a house and 500,000, simply because the mother-in-law is in a hurry to get her son married. After all, her son had spent several years in prison for a crime, and he was short and ugly. It was already difficult for someone to marry him. More importantly, I knew that Zhang Chao could never have allowed Yao Li to conceive naturally. Even he himself was unaware of this matter. At the age of 18, he fell while playing basketball and lost consciousness. A hospital examination revealed that he had suffered a fundamental injury. The doctor said his chance of natural conception is less than 1%, and after the age of 30, he would essentially lose the ability to reproduce. Wanting to have a child, we could only rely on IVF, and the older we got, the lower the success rate became. I was afraid of making him uncomfortable, so I kept it a secret from everyone. In my previous life, I worried that he was too old to have children, so I desperately pushed for it. Even so, they went through more than a year of hospital treatments and tried several rounds of IVF before finally conceiving. How could she suddenly get pregnant in this lifetime? Either it's a fake report, or Yao Li cheated on Zhang Chao to get the money faster. I handed the phone to my wife to read. My wife didn't know that Zhang Chao couldn't conceive naturally. After reading it, she handed the phone back to me and snorted coldly, 80% is fake. If we don't give in now, within a few days they'll say the fetus is unstable and needs money for treatment. As expected, 2 days later, Zhang Chao sent another message. Mom, the doctor said Lily has low progesterone and needs to be hospitalized for fetal protection. Please transfer 200,000 yuan first. I replied, take good care of your health and get plenty of rest. Zhang Chao panicked. What about the 200,000? That's your own business, you handle it yourselves. Then I blocked him. 13. As long as the house and savings remained in their hands, Zhang Chao and Yao Li would never be at peace. My wife and I acted quickly, selling the school district house and adding another 500,000 yuan from our savings to buy 2 well-located small apartments, one for our own use, and one for rental. At the same time, he also handled the reverse mortgage business at the state-owned insurance company in his niece's country. After mortgaging 2 houses, we receive a fixed monthly pension of 6,000 yuan, with a certain annual increase, plus the rental income from the apartment. All added up, the monthly income is nearly 18,000. Of the remaining 500,000 in savings, 100,000 is set aside for emergencies, and the rest is entrusted to my niece for safekeeping. During this period, Zhang Chao brought Yao Li, who was pretending to be pregnant, to cause trouble with me twice, but my wife and I drove them out. They went to their niece's company again, crying and making a scene, threatening that if she dared to handle our pension matters, they would die at the entrance of her company. This unreasonable and illegal demand ended with the person being taken away by the police. They still refused to give up to get money. He kept showing up in front of me and my spouse, even bringing along his mother-in-law and her son. Naturally, we didn't give a cent, and immediately called the police, taking all 4 of them to the station for a chat to reflect on their actions. We also took the opportunity to move. After moving, my spouse and I simply drove to Yunnan for a relaxing getaway, viewing Arai Lake and Dali, strolling through the ancient town in Lijian, and soaking in hot springs at the foot of Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. And my wife was overjoyed, holding my hand and sighing, Guifan, this is what it means to enjoy a peaceful old age. We rode bicycles by the Arai Lake. He rode faster than me, turning back to shout at me, hurry up, the sun is about to set. At that moment, watching his white hair ruffled by the wind and the smile on his face, my eyes grew warm. In my previous life, he had always wanted to visit Arai Lake, but never managed to go. On the 15th day of the journey, my best friend called, her voice urgent, Guifan, you're trending on social media. I was taken aback. What trending topic? Your daughter-in-law posted an article online, calling you an evil mother-in-law. It's being widely shared. You should check it out right away. I opened my phone and found the article. The headline was outrageous. Child-free daughter-in-law compromises for love and gets pregnant, only for evil mother-in-law to turn her back. In the article, Yao Li portrays herself as a victim who gave up her child-free lifestyle for the sake of family harmony, claiming that I, the wicked mother-in-law, had made grand promises during the pressure to have children, promising money, a house, and childcare. But once she actually became pregnant, I turned cold and reneged on my promises, taking my husband to sell the house and travel around enjoying ourselves, completely ignoring her as a pregnant woman. The comments and shares under the article have already exceeded 10,000. This Mother-in-law is too cruel, treating her daughter-in-law like a baby-making machine, promising everything to encourage pregnancy, then going back on your word once it's conceived. How disgusting. A mother-in-law lives a good life while her daughter-in-law suffers during pregnancy. Support the young woman in claiming childbirth compensation. Another netizen traced my phone number through the internet and sent me an abusive text message. You old bastard, I hope you get hit by a car when you go out. I stared at the phone screen, my hands trembling slightly. They really will stop at nothing for money. My spouse noticed my expression and came over to ask what was wrong. I handed him my phone, and after reading it, he turned pale with anger. This is pure fabrication. When did we ever push for a second child, or promise money or a house? They faked a pregnancy to scam money. And now they're using online harassment to force us into submission. I took a deep breath to calm myself down. Don't rush. If she wants to play, I'll play her on a bigger scale. 14. I called my best friend's daughter. Yaya is the operations director of a new media company and knows the ins and outs of this business. Auntie, the only way to calm the public's anger is with evidence. Make a clarification. I pulled out the recording from my phone. On the first day of my rebirth, I had already kept a watchful eye. Every time Zhang Chao and Yao Li came to negotiate terms, I recorded it. When my sister-in-law came to accuse me and my in-laws came to pressure me, I recorded those too. I didn't predict today's events. I just learned my lesson from the last life, where I suffered enough from empty words with no proof. Yaya quickly compiled a document overnight. The 5 conditions Yao Li personally proposed, my responses rejecting each one, and the repeated threats and taunts from Zhang Chao, Yao Li, and my in-laws about cutting off descendants and refusing to provide for my old age. She also helped me pull up a bill from Zhang Chao's education, wedding dowry, down payment for a house, money for a car, to the monthly mortgage payments she made for him after marriage, and various small transfers during holidays. In total, it added up to over 7 million. The next day, the clarification was posted. The title was, I am the evil mother-in-law, come see the truth. The main point is that the parents have already done their best to support them, but they are greedy, using the dink, child-free lifestyle as a cover, actually trying to swindle all the parents' money, making the parents serve as 24-hour free nannies, and even inciting relatives to bombard them repeatedly, finally using online mobs to harass the parents. In the recording, Yao Li's voice is crystal clear. Give me 1 million yuan for physical damage, transfer the house to my name, hand over all your pension, and you must take care of the child 24 hours a day. My refusal was also clear and unmistakable. We didn't pressure you to have children. We respect your decision to be dinks. Don't use moral coercion against us. Add to that the threatening recordings about cutting off the family line and refusing to provide for them in old age, along with the solid records of over 3 million yuan spent on Zhang Chao. The comment section exploded, and public opinion completely reversed. Damn, this is way too harsh. Having a child costs 1 million, plus a house, a pension, and round-the-clock care. Is this about having a child or being an emperor? So you're dink, fine, but using having a child as a bargaining chip for money. I could hear that scheme all the way from the East Sea. Auntie, I'm sorry, I scolded you yesterday. This isn't a wicked mother-in-law. This is literally a modern-day Doi. But Zhang Chao and Yao Li did not let the matter rest. They hired a bunch of trolls to steer the conversation, and public opinion quickly split into 2 camps, fiercely debating the issue of raising children. One school of thought holds, giving birth is a desire, raising is a responsibility, but lifting up is a grace. Parents bring children into the world without their consent, so they must dedicate themselves wholeheartedly to their children, selflessly giving without expecting anything in return, and exerting every effort to support them until their last breath. Another school of thought believes parents have already fulfilled their duty by raising their children to adulthood with utmost care, providing them with education and helping them start families. The journey of the second half of life should be the child's own responsibility. Parents are not obligated to exhaust themselves to death for their children. Actually, all the arguing is just the children blaming their parents for not giving enough, and the parents complaining that the children don't know how to be grateful. My husband and I are traveling and eating our way through Yunnan. We don't even have time to check our phones. These arguments don't affect us in any way. As for Zhang Chao's reproductive privacy, I've never brought it up. After raising him for so many years, that last bit of mother-son affection made me unable to bring myself to do it. 15. The day after returning from Yunnan, Zhang Chao came knocking at my door. He stood at the entrance, looking quite pale, but his tone was much softer than before. Mom, Lily said if you don't agree to her conditions, she'll have an abortion. I leaned against the doorframe, looking at him. I've already said, you two should decide your own matters. I won't interfere. Besides, the money and the house have all become my pension. I can't give them to you. Zhang Chao grew anxious. Mom, that's a life we're talking about. Don't you feel any heartache? I looked into his eyes, threatening someone with their life. There's no room for pity in that. Go back and tell Yeli she can have a child if she wants, or not if she doesn't. I won't give in just because she says she wants to abort. Nor will I give her an extra penny if she gives birth. Zhang Chao opened his mouth but couldn't speak. I turned and went inside the house, but he called out to me again. Mom, if you keep this up, our mother-son bond is over. I paused in my steps and turned to look at him. What do you want? He gritted his teeth. If you still refuse to agree, we'll sever all ties and never see each other again. I stared at him for a long time. This face was the one I carried for 10 months and gave birth to. When he was little, he fell sick every other day, and countless nights, I held him in my arms, sitting in the hospital corridor until dawn. When he was bullied at school, I rushed to the school time and again to argue with others. For over 30 years, I scrimped and saved, all to create the best conditions for him. If it weren't for how he treated me in my past life, even this 1 million in savings would have been set aside for him now, to extort money from me. He wants to completely sever ties with me. The last bit of mother-son affection is now broken. I held back my tears and said, fine. Zhang Chao was stunned. What did you say? I said, fine. If you want to cut ties, then we'll cut ties. I pulled out a piece of paper and quickly wrote a few lines. Here, sign it. Zhang Chao looked at the paper, his face turning red and then pale. He probably didn't expect me to agree so readily. Mom, you're really too heartless. Sign or not. If you don't sign, you're a dog. His hand trembling, he signed his name. I took the paper, glanced at it, and put it away. All right, from now on, you take your broad sunny path, and I'll cross my own narrow bridge. After he left, I sat on the sofa, staring at the severance letter for a long time. It would be a lie to say I wasn't sad, but compared to watching him ruin both my and my husband's lives in my previous life, this sadness is nothing. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Yaya, along with the fertility diagnosis report I had kept for over a decade. 16 netizens went completely berserk. Can't even conceive naturally, then what is she carrying? Either a fake pregnancy or a bastard. For a woman who cheated on him, he turned against his own parents. Is this guy just stupid, or is he getting what he deserves? That evening, a neighbor called and said that Zhang Chao's family had been arguing all day, smashing countless things. Finally, Zhang Chao roared, you shameless woman, if the child in your belly is not mine, we're getting a divorce. Then came a series of loud crashes. After the loud noise that night, Zhang Chao's family fell apart, according to relatives and friends. Early the next morning, Zhang Chao dragged Yao Li to the hospital. After leaving the hospital, both of them looked pale and immediately headed straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Less than a month after the divorce, Yao Li's mother married her off. I heard he was a bald man in his late 40s who ran a hardware store in the county town, offering 500,000 yuan in bride price plus a house, just enough for her younger brother to marry. But the bald man was a pervert, beating Yao Li black and blue almost every other day. Yao Li ran back to her parents' home, demanding the 500,000 yuan for a divorce, but was beaten again by her own mother and brother, then tied up and sent back to the bald man. As for Zhang Chao, life became increasingly difficult day by day. He never had much ability to begin with. The job was arranged through our connections, the monthly payments were helped with by us, and even half of the daily expenses were covered by us. Now, the monthly payments have stopped, and he was fired by the company due to frequent absences and arguments. The house mortgage defaulted, and the bank started pressing for repayment. Credit cards were maxed out, leaving a mountain of debt. He began borrowing money everywhere. First, he turned to relatives, but they had only been watching the drama unfold. When it came to actually putting up real money, no one was willing to lend. Then he tried borrowing from friends, but they also came up with various excuses to refuse. Finally, he came to me. It was raining heavily that day. He was soaked to the skin, kneeling at the door like a lost dog. Mom, I really can't go on anymore. Please, save me. I didn't let him in. We've broken off all ties. You shouldn't call me Mom anymore. His eyes were red with tears. Mom, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Just forgive me this one time. Just this once. I looked into his eyes. I remembered my late wife lying in the hospital corridor in her final moments, her eyes wide open in disbelief. My heart had already hardened. Live your own life. If you live well, it's your ability. If you don't, it's your fate. Go back. I can't help you. He wept bitterly, kneeling and refusing to rise. I turned around and went inside. Closing the door, my wife asked me, Guifang, do you really not feel heartbroken? I didn't answer. He didn't know that I had already spent a lifetime feeling heartbroken. In my Previous life, I poured all my heart and soul into caring for others. In this life, I want to care for myself. 17 later, I heard that Zhang Chao went to work in another city. Occasionally, my niece would send a few words. Life isn't easy, but at least I'm not starving. I didn't ask for more details. We supported him through the first half of his life. The second half is for him to walk on his own. Whether he can walk it or not is his own affair. My wife and I are living a more and more stable life. We get up early every day to practice Tai Chi in the park, visit the vegetable market in the morning, watch TV, and tend to the flowers and plants in the afternoon, and take a walk after dinner in the evening. Life is simple and happy. My wife often sighs. Guifan, I never dared to imagine such a life before. I smiled and said, there are many more days like this ahead. We must enjoy our golden years and live to 100. All those right and wrongs, those tears and heartbreaks, are now in the past. In this life, I just want to spend time with my old partner. Slowly making up for the days we missed. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. At the auction, my legitimate elder sister and I bought 2 mermaids. My elder sister chose the strong older brother, leaving me with the younger brother who had a tattered tail. To heal him, I shed my heart's blood for 49 days and went to great lengths to enhance his bloodline, awakening him into the Mermaid King. Yet even after marrying me, he remained consistently cold. I thought it was just his nature, until my legitimate sister was severely injured, and he personally drained all of my heart's blood. He said coldly, if it weren't for you, she would have taken me with her. You tore us apart. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when the mermaid was being auctioned. Marrying a mermaid is a tradition in our family. A woman's honor and disgrace after marriage are entirely tied to the merman she marries. So, after being forced to choose the merman with the tattered tail left by my sister, I had to shed the blood from my heart for 49 days just to barely heal him. I also risked my life to obtain various spiritual pills and medicines to enhance his bloodline. Fortunately, he eventually became the Merman King. As the wife of the Merman King, I should have had a worry-free and happy life, but I never expected that on the day my elder sister was severely injured, he kicked open my door and once again cut open the hideous wound on my chest. Kevin, what are you doing? I screamed in pain, but he deepened the cut, trying to make the blood flow faster. Kevin swiftly tied me to the headboard. Aurora is seriously ill, and she needs the blood from your heart, but I don't have any more heart blood to give. If I give more, I'll die, he said coldly. If it weren't for you, she would have taken me away. It was you who tore us apart. I froze, my scalp tingling as I looked at the merman I had personally raised. So, repay with your life. After my heart's blood had completely drained, I too fell into a dead faint. Before my vision went dark, those blue eyes looking at me were as fierce as if they were poisoned. Kevin has always been cold to me. I thought it was just his nature, but now I know that he actually loves my elder sister. He hates me for choosing him back then. I never expected that when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when the mermaid was being auctioned. I still spotted Kevin cowering at the very back at first glance. What mermaids take the most pride in is their fishtail. The fishtails of others shimmered in the water prison, swaying like flowing silk. Kevin's fishtail had lost almost all of its scales, just like in her previous life. My elder sister Aurora Smith vaguely pointed at the 2 mermaids inside. Freya, let's take those 2 mermaids, shall we? Hurry up and decide, or else the strong ones will be bought by others soon. In my previous life, I listened to her nonsense and agreed. The trade of mermaids isn't cheap, so I thought she wouldn't pick the weakest one among a group of mermaids, right? But I never expected that she actually bought Kevin, who was on the verge of death. Because of this, my father was absolutely furious, but Aurora Smith said, Father, this is the one my sister picked. Don't you know her temperament? I have no choice but to pay. Anyway, I chose this strong and sturdy one. I'm taking him with me first, and so, the awkward and mismatched Kevin ended up in my hands. In this lifetime, I won't believe her nonsense anymore. You can have that one yourself. Sister, I want to choose that one. I pointed at another expressionless merman and called out my bid without another word. To me, it didn't matter who I chose. Even the weak and defenseless Kevin could be trained by me to become the Merman King. Any one of them pulled out at random would be better than it. This time, I just want to pick one that is loyal to me. Seeing that I didn't take the bait, Aurora Smith scolded me in dissatisfaction. Freya, your bid is too high. Father only gave us this much money. If you use it all, what will I use? I gave her a lukewarm glance. How come I never realized she was such a good actress in my previous life? Aurora Smith went to great lengths to pick a worthless mermaid for me, all because she was afraid I might surpass her status in the future. Her scheme began the moment we stepped into the auction house, so I pointed at Kevin, who was trying hard to show off to everyone that one looks pretty good too. Take good care of him, and he might turn out to be something in the future. If you really run out of money, just buy him. Aurora Smith laughed in disbelief and pointed at Kevin. Him? I wouldn't even want you to warm my bed, I sneered mockingly. Poor Kevin, in his past life, thought I was the one who tore them apart. Little did he know. Aurora Smith didn't even have her eyes on him. Just like in her previous life, Aurora Smith still chose her merman, Axel. But as I was leaving with my merman, Andrew, Kevin in the water prison suddenly began frantically crashing against the surrounding water walls. The people around started to jeer. Oh, is he trying to get someone's attention? Tattered and worn out, only a fool would buy him back. Looking at the visibly anxious Kevin and the turning Aurora Smith, I slightly frowned. Could it be that Kevin has also been reborn? His restlessness is because the Aurora Smith he longs for didn't take him with her. Looking at his shattered blue eyes, I smiled. Having a lifelong fantasy suddenly shattered must be an unpleasant feeling. Since I didn't bring Kevin back this time, I naturally didn't get scolded. Andrew stood in front of me, his tail still tapping on the ground. Can you transform into human form? Andrew pursed his lips and obediently tucked his tail away. Unlike the others, I didn't seem to see any joy on Andrew's face after being bought. Looking closely, his blue eyes seemed to carry a hint of indifference and arrogance, so I asked directly, you don't like coming home with me? Andrew glanced at me indifferently without saying a word. As far as I know, the merfolk in your water prison are also divided into different ranks. If I hadn't brought you back, you would have had to keep fighting to secure your position. Now, I can protect you. Andrew sat on the chair farthest from me, he said. I'm not that useless guy who got his tail beaten. With just that one sentence, I laughed. Andrew was right. As a mermaid, if your tail gets beaten to that state, what else are you but useless? If you don't want to stay with me, then leave on your own. A glimmer of light flashed in Andrew's blue eyes. It was clear that he was tempted. Before he could make a move, I stood up first. What are you doing? Since you don't want to stay here, of course, I'll go and select another mermaid to cultivate a mermaid king. I cannot tolerate anyone with divided loyalties. Out of the corner of my eye, Andrew looked at me in surprise. Becoming the Merman King is the lifelong aspiration of every merman. He has the ability, but ability can be cultivated. It's better not to have an ungrateful person like Kevin. The auction has now ended. I turned my head and smiled at him. If a family can afford a mermaid, would they really worry about the channels to buy one? For the next few days, I was out early and back late. Andrew hadn't left yet, but I still needed to find a backup plan for myself. I just didn't expect that on this day. As soon as I stepped onto the street, Kevin came stumbling toward me. On the street, he directly hugged my leg. Freya, why aren't you taking me with you? Take me with you, please. You clearly chose me. My heart skipped a beat. What did you say? Kevin held onto my ankle, refusing to let go. Freya, take a good look at me. Are you really not choosing me anymore? Hearing this, I was certain that Kevin had indeed been reborn as well, but why wasn't his first move after rebirth to look for my dear sister, Aurora Smith? I kicked him away expressionlessly. What nonsense are you talking about? Which one is your owner? Don't try to fake an accident in broad daylight. I tried to walk away, but Kevin reluctantly chased after me again. Just as I was about to lose my temper, I suddenly noticed Andrew following not far behind me. With a playful glint in my almond-shaped eyes, I crouched down and smiled at Kevin. Your tail is so badly injured. Was it because other merfolk bullied you? Kevin was taken aback for a moment, but then nodded. Out of the corner of my eye, Andrew had moved a bit closer. Just like in my previous life, I gently stroked Kevin's fishtail. In our previous life, we spent so much time together that I was the one who healed all his wounds. I knew exactly where he felt comfortable and where he was in pain, so now, when I started working on him, Kevin shivered with pleasure. He kept leaning into my arms, saying, Master, can you take me home? I curled my lips. Of course. Before I could finish, Andrew rushed forward, wrapped his tail around Kevin, and threw him 5 meters away. He stood in front of me with a stern face. I haven't left yet. After being thrown, Kevin tried several times but couldn't get up. I feigned surprise and looked at Andrew. How could you hit so hard? Didn't you say you were leaving? Why are you stopping me from finding other mermaids? Andrew clenched his fists hanging by his sides. I'm not leaving. I smiled with satisfaction. Mermaids have their own will and need to be tamed. He took the first step, so naturally, I had to accept the olive branch. As for Kevin, he struggled to get up and then came closer again. Master, you just promised to take me with you. I put my arm around Andrew's shoulder and waved at him with a smile. Sorry, I changed my mind. Kevin opened his mouth and wanted to step forward, But Andrew's fishtail instantly slapped down at his feet again. Take one more step, and it'll be your fish bones that shatter. After the fishtail moved away, I glanced at the shattered ground. Andrew is indeed much more capable than Kevin. To prevent the merfolk from backstabbing again, I forced Andrew to pledge his loyalty with a blood oath. Can you really make me the merfolk king? I didn't answer, as the master. I should have the absolute say. In my previous life, I was solely focused on grooming Kevin to become the merfolk king, but I forgot that strengthening myself is the most reliable path. If Andrew performs well, the merman king will naturally be his. If he shows even the slightest disloyalty, then he will only be my bedwarmer for the rest of his life. If you're unwilling, you can just leave on your own. After I finished speaking, I turned and walked away, but just as I stepped out the door, Andrew cut open his own tail and drew blood. I do, after the ownership acknowledgement was completed, Andrew stood awkwardly beside me. From now on, I am your merman. Looking closely, a faint blush could be seen on Andrew's fair face, adorably weird. I deliberately teased him by gesturing toward the bed with my chin. Go to the bed. Andrew's face turned even redder. He slowly moved and sat down on the bed, letting his bleeding fishtail hang down to the floor to avoid dirtying the bed. What are you doing? Looking at his flushed face, I felt a little like laughing. So all that fierceness before was just an act, so I deliberately reached out and touched his fishtail. You should know, when we buy a merman, we marry him. By rights, you should be my husband now. Andrew didn't speak, but when I touched him, his fishtail trembled slightly. When our eyes met, he suddenly closed his as if resigning himself to fate. I chuckled softly, turned around, and took out the hemostatic medicine. Andrew closed his eyes, and I gently blew on his bleeding wound. Does it hurt? Ha! Andrew's fishtail began to sway slightly and uncontrollably from side to side. This is the merman's expression of joy. I helped Andrew apply the hemostatic medicine, then got up and sat back in the chair. You can't get it wet recently. It'll be fine in a couple of days. Does it not hurt anymore? The blush on Andrew's face hadn't faded yet. After quickly glancing at me, he proudly looked away. It's so ugly. It doesn't match my fishtail. Then why is he wagging his tail after Andrew's fishtail healed? We began our day after day of practice. Unlike my previous life, I have also started training. How can the wife of the merman king be so weak that she cannot even handle a chicken? But I had only been training for a short while when Aurora Smith arrived with her merman, Axel. Oh, so you've even thrown yourself into the training just to keep up, little sister. You spent so much time choosing at the auction. I thought you'd pick something outstanding, but looking at it now, it's nothing special, not even half as good as my Axel. I paused and glanced at Aurora Smith and Axel. Axel was indeed burly, but in his previous life, he was just an average person. Moreover, Aurora Smith didn't know how to tame beasts, so after they got married, father handed the family authority over to me. I didn't say anything, but Andrew stepped in front of me. Ha ha, how dare a beastman like you challenge me? Let me tell you, I am the eldest daughter of this family, and from now on, I'm the one in charge here. Axel, teach him a lesson. Axel charged forward upon receiving the order. Andrew remained calm and composed, even taking the time to move me to a safe spot before engaging in the fight. Perfect. I also wanted to see Andrew's true strength. The two fought fiercely, but within just a few rounds, it became clear that Axel was at a disadvantage. At first, Aurora Smith was full of confidence, but now she was shouting anxiously from the sidelines, beat him to death, beat him to death. Why are you holding back? If you kill him, I'll have your back. Axel didn't seem to notice anything, but Andrew began to strike with lethal intent. Just as they were about to dock Axel's tail, Aurora Smith suddenly let out a sharp scream. How dare you, Freya Smith? This is the fine beastman you've raised. He actually dares to treat my people like this. I smiled. Sister, wasn't it you who allowed Axel to stir up trouble just now? You even shouted for Axel to kill Andrew. All the servants in the house can testify. Aurora Smith couldn't argue with me and actually rushed right up to me. If Axel gets hurt, I will definitely have my father punish you severely. I spent a fortune to buy this. After a moment of eye contact, I had Andrew release the person. Aurora Smith then snorted coldly. You know what's good for you. An elder sister is an elder sister. No matter what, this family will never be your place to take charge. After saying this, Aurora Smith left in a huff, cursing under her breath as she took Axel away. Andrew was sullen. We should have killed him just now. Watching the direction they left, I murmured, what's the hurry? Aurora Smith, having suffered a loss once, will surely hate me to the core. If you want to destroy someone, you must first make them crazy. Aurora Smith started finding fault with me everywhere. I thought he would try to trip me up in front of my father. Unexpectedly, she brought Kevin back home and treated him like a servant. When Kevin stopped me at home and pleaded with me, I was startled. How did you get Here, Aurora Smith walked out smiling from not far away, bringing her father along. It seems the rumors outside are all true. I looked confused. What rumors? Father's face darkened as he snorted coldly. Freya Smith, you've already chosen the merman, so why are you still involved with him? Fortunately, your sister ran into him today and had to bring him home to shut him up, otherwise your reputation would be ruined. Aurora Smith walked up to me with a smug look on her face, using the tip of her shoe to lift Kevin's chin. Sister, he's been going around asking for help to get into the Smith family just to be by your side. And you, why didn't you just say you two had something going on? You could have bought him at the auction back then. Why bother bringing this Andrew home? The more Aurora Smith spoke, the darker her father's expression became. Freya Smith, if you can't handle this matter properly, get out of this house. With that, her father turned and left in a huff. Aurora Smith looked at me with a smile. You're quite something, little sister. Take your time to solve it. Kevin was half kneeling on the ground, looking up at me with a gaze full of longing. If you like me that much, then stay, rather than driving him away. It's better to keep him under my watchful eye. Without my heart's blood in this lifetime, Kevin would struggle to survive. Kevin started hovering around me all day long. As for Andrew, he's been keeping his distance from me again lately. The other day when I cornered him in the back garden, Andrew avoided me with a sour expression. You still come to me, shouldn't you be with that pitiful Kevin right now? Back then, you two were putting on an act on the street on purpose, just to trick me into acknowledging my master. Andrew was fuming, his tail fin restlessly slapping the ground. I watched him with great interest. Once you acknowledge your master, you can't run away anymore. What should we do? Do you still want to become the merman king? Andrew gave me a weary glance, his expression suggesting that I was trying to deceive him. There's a merman competition in 2 months. Whether you become the merman king or not is up to you. Seeing that he remained silent, I had no choice but to briefly explain a few things to him. Really, there's really nothing between you and that merman. I was just about to swear an oath. Andrew then let out a proud, light hum and started training with me. He and I trained together in the backyard, sweating it out, while Kevin occasionally pretended to be busy as he passed by. I'll go break his fishtail. Let's see how he walks after that. Andrew, I have my own plans. All the heart's blood I fed him in my previous life can't have been for nothing. He couldn't wait to come knocking on my door himself, so don't blame me for being ruthless. In the evening, I called Kevin into the room to serve me. The merman king from my past life is now kneeling at my feet, holding the foot washing water for me. However, because he was still severely injured, he occasionally swayed weakly. Is your health not well? I asked as if I didn't care. The annual mermaid competition is just around the corner. Kevin must be worried sick right now. In my previous life, with my help, he became the mermaid king. How could someone who once stood at the top be willing to stoop so low as to become a servant? So even if it's just for my heart's blood, he will surely endure it for now. Kevin weakly slumped to the ground. My tail was injured in the water prison, and it hasn't healed since. Oh, I pretended not to know and immediately followed up. Then how can it be restored? Our household does not support idlers. Kevin looked at me and tentatively spoke. It requires the heart's blood of a human. It must be consumed over 49 days to fully recover. I didn't speak. Nowadays, he is nothing but a servant. Seeing that I didn't respond, he coughed twice more and continued. I know I'm useless in this lifetime. I only hope to stay by your side. I dare not dream of your heart's blood. Why must you stay by my side? Kevin pursed his lips and looked at me, as if searching for any trace of a lie on my face, but with my face full of sincerity. How could I let him see through the act? Only after confirming that I wasn't pretending to be clueless did Kevin shake his head with a sorrowful expression. It seems Freya really doesn't remember me. You once saved me. Mermaids have always known to repay kindness, which is why I insisted on staying by your side, even if you and that Andrew, as long as I can see you live a peaceful life, I would die without regrets. I had to dig my nails into my palm to resist the urge to slap him across the face. Repaying kindness with gratitude. He is clearly heartless and ungrateful, using my trust to bite me hard, and he said it with such sincerity. If I didn't have the memories from my past life, I might have actually believed his nonsense. I pretended to be deeply moved by his selflessness. As long as I have the heart's blood for 49 days, will you be able to fully recover? Kevin's eyes lit up. His wolfish ambition was clear to see, but it was evident that he was trying his best to hold back. Yes, but Freya, drawing heart's blood is very painful. I pondered for a moment before saying seriously, I can save your life, but once you've fully recovered, you must not bother me again. A flicker of hurt passed through Kevin's eyes, but he quickly agreed. All right, I won't bother you. The moment he lowered his head, I smiled too. My heart's blood, how could it be so easily obtained? From then on, every day I would send Andrew to the street to buy a little fresh chicken blood. Mixing the chicken blood with water diluted the taste quite a bit, in order to avoid him noticing. I even mixed some herbs into it, at the very least. He needs to see some effect to believe me. Kevin drank one bowl after another, each time with a furrowed brow. Freya, why does this heart's blood taste a bit strange? Hearing this, I immediately put on a hurt expression. Of course, the taste of blood isn't pleasant. To save your life, I had to cut open my own chest. If you think it tastes bad, I might as well just throw it away. Kevin wouldn't dare. Upon hearing this, he licked the bowl clean. Freya, I will never forget your great kindness. If only I were the merman you chose, I could follow you and repay you. Hearing this, I immediately put on a distressed expression. Having you stay at home right now is already a great trouble for me. You heard what father and sister said that day. As I spoke, I observed him out of the corner of my eye. When Aurora Smith was mentioned, not only was there no trace of admiration in his eyes, but there was even a hint of resentment. In my previous life, I didn't know what happened after I died, but now it seems that this Merman King didn't end up with a good outcome either. But I can't blame you for this. My sister has always been at odds with me. She was just using your situation to embarrass me. Kevin's hand on the table unconsciously clenched. Seeing his clenched jaw, I knew I had guessed correctly. Freya, don't worry. I won't be a burden to you. That's the best, but in this lifetime, he is simply not worthy of being my concern. Lately, Kevin has been hovering around me less and instead frequently approaches Aurora Smith. I know he took my words from last time to heart. If he can eliminate someone else on my behalf, it can be considered a small atonement for his sins from his past life to prevent Kevin from noticing anything unusual. Andrew and I have been training in the house at night recently. You need to be even faster. Those merfolk on the track are ruthless. If your speed isn't up to par, you might very well walk in and be carried out. After saying that, I waved at Andrew. Come here, I'll spar with you. Andrew laughed, clearly looking down on me. Hurry up and come here. As soon as the words were spoken, Andrew had already darted in front of me. I was so fast that I didn't even see how he got here. How did you? Before I could finish my sentence, Andrew launched another attack at me. After barely dodging twice, I lost my balance and fell backward. Andrew exclaimed in surprise, reaching out to steady my waist. I suspected he did it on purpose, deliberately falling onto the bed with me when he pressed down on top of me. My heartbeat uncontrollably quickened. Andrew, get up. It's getting late. You should go back. His blue eyes flickered, and without a word, he pinned my hands above my head. Why can Kevin come at night, but I can't? He had found out about Kevin coming every night to drink chicken blood. Kevin has something to do. Andrew lay on top of me, refusing to move, his increasingly hot breath spraying against my neck. The mermaid suddenly let down the curtain by the bedside. He said, Master, you said it yourself. From now on, I am your husband. Even when my legs grew weak and sore, Andrew was still whispering in my ear, asking whether I wanted him or Kevin. I answered randomly, but in my heart, I was thinking, why is this dead merman's body so incredibly good? A month later, Aurora Smith's mermaid tail suddenly broke off. Aurora Smith went crazy at home. Why did it suddenly turn out like this when everything was fine? Axel, have you eaten something wrong? Where is your fishtail? How can you participate in the merman competition without a fishtail? Without a fishtail, can you even be considered a merman? Axel lay on the bed, his face pale. Father, can you help find someone to treat Axel? The merman competition is coming soon, and I've put a lot of effort into him. Father frowned and nodded. After the veterinarian who specialized in treating beastmen arrived, he took the pulse and then left, shaking his head with a sigh. The fishtail may look fine on the outside, but the bones inside have already softened. In less than 3 days, his fish bones will dissolve into a pool of pus. Axel frantically begged the veterinarian to save him, so agitated that he even fell off the bed. Aurora Smith kept muttering with a dazed look that it was impossible. After seeing the doctor out, Aurora Smith actually lunged at me, trying to attack me, but with Andrew around, how could she possibly get close to me? Freya Smith, you're behind this, aren't you? You're jealous of my merman's natural talent, afraid he might become the merman king, so you deliberately harmed him to ensure you could never surpass me in this lifetime. You harmed my merman, and I won't let you get away with it. You'll die too. Her father happened to enter just as she said this. Stop this nonsense. With a stern rebuke from father, Aurora Smith instantly fell silent. I calmly explained, Sister, I truly have no reason to harm your merman, not to mention who the merman king will ultimately belong to. Andrew is far more capable than Axel. Axel isn't even a competitor we consider. Why would I go To such great lengths to harm him, Aurora Smith was about to roar again but was silenced by father's reprimand. Since things have come to this, just rest well at home, you don't need to participate in the mermaid race anymore. This useless mermaid, do whatever you want with her. Both Axel and Aurora Smith were completely panicked. Could a mermaid who has lost her tail possibly survive after being thrown out, and without the mermaid? Aurora Smith lost all possibilities. Kevin was clearly in a good mood when he came for the chicken blood today. He looked at me ingratiatingly. From now on, Aurora Smith won't be able to compete with Freya for anything. I handed him the chicken blood. He is almost finished with the entire course of treatment. Recently, I increased the dosage of the medicine, and Kevin does seem to be doing much better than before. However, this is only a superficial appearance. The herbs can only keep him barely alive. If he exerts himself too much, he will suddenly fall critically ill. By then, even drinking Heart's blood for a full 100 days would be useless. Was it you who did that? I feigned surprise and even showed a hint of admiration. How did you manage to make him change so suddenly without anyone noticing? I asked him, but he started being evasive. He only said, to repay you, I can do anything for you. I turned my head and sneered. The reason he knows so much now is because he was once the Merman King in his previous life, although his body was no longer as strong as before. He still knew all those dirty tricks. After drinking the chicken blood, he greedily licked his lips. The fish tail behind him also flicked, as if showing off. After he left, Andrew emerged from the shadows. He looked displeased, with a hint of caution on his face. Freya Smith, he's no good. Why are you helping him? Staring at the bright red bowl, I asked meaningfully, how do you know I'm helping him? Andrew paused, and I immediately followed up with another question. The mermaid competition is in 3 days. Are you confident you can become the king? Andrew reached back and held my hand, which was resting on his tail. My master is so eager. I'll risk my life to win. His words made my face flush red instantly. I'm well aware of the abilities of those merfolk. As long as he performs as usual, Andrew will definitely be fine. On the day of the mermaid race, my father and Aurora Smith came with us. I hadn't seen Kevin at home since the day before. He must have come to compete as well. Andrew, this race is about the honor and status of the Smith family. You must give it your all. Do you hear me? Be careful, father said in a low voice, while Aurora Smith curled her lips disdainfully, but for once, she didn't say a word. I glanced at her suspiciously, feeling that something was off. Just before stepping onto the stage, Aurora Smith pulled out a handkerchief from her sleeve and tried to wipe the sweat from Andrew's forehead. Fortunately, Andrew has never liked strangers getting close, so he dodged it at the time. Aurora Smith's outstretched hand froze in the air, leaving her utterly embarrassed. Little sister, look at the merman you've raised. It was just to help wipe his sweat. If he becomes the merman king, we'd all feel proud, wouldn't we? So stingy, she would be so kind. I let out a fake laugh, then snatched the handkerchief and wiped it on my father's face. Hey, you, don't. Seeing Aurora Smith stammering, I became even more certain that there was something wrong with this handkerchief, so I wiped even more diligently. What's wrong? It's true that the mermaid's participation is important, but father has been standing with us under the scorching sun, which is already quite exhausting. Wiping his sweat is the least I, as his daughter, should do. While speaking, I had already pushed Andrew out. After 2 months of painstaking preparation, no one is allowed to cause trouble at this critical moment. Aurora Smith began to feel restless. She occasionally stole glances at her father's reaction. I smiled when I saw him swaying unsteadily, so it was a sedative after all. Father, what's wrong with you? Father held his head, and fine beads of sweat began to appear on his forehead. You were perfectly fine just a moment ago. How did wiping your sweat suddenly lead to this? As I asked, Aurora Smith instantly grew anxious. What are you talking nonsense about here? Father is just feeling unwell. What does it have to do with my handkerchief? Father was already too confused to speak. I then smiled and said to Aurora Smith, whether there's a problem or not, we'll know once we check it out. This time, the medicine was used on father. I don't believe he can remain unmoved. Aurora Smith's goal is simple. It's nothing more than that since her mermaid has no hope, she doesn't want my Andrew to compete, but she forgot, as long as it brings honor to the Smith family, father never cares who that person is. After the competition began, Andrew quickly advanced to the final rounds. Father was drowsy, but Aurora Smith and I had no time to look after him. When Aurora Smith saw Kevin on the field, her jaw dropped. Wasn't his tail fin already useless? He's not a servant in our house. Why is he here? After asking, she seemed to suddenly grasp the key point. If his tail fin can heal, then is there hope for my Axel as well? Was it you? How did you cure him? I tilted my head and looked at her. Want to know? Use a drop of blood from your heart, feed it to him every day, and after 40 9 days, he'll be fine. I was seriously telling her the method, but as soon as Aurora Smith heard about harming herself, her expression instantly changed. For a merman, haha, I'll just buy another one. But Freya Smith, did you heal this Kevin just to watch him compete against your Andrew? Aurora Smith looked at me as if I were an idiot. I stared intently at the stage without saying a word. I had already warned Andrew before we came, if you encounter Kevin in the ring, beat him to death. It was worth all my chicken blood and herbs. Kevin finally stood face to face with Andrew. Andrew flexed his hands and charged forward without a word. Kevin, who had seemed quite fierce when facing others earlier, suddenly appeared weak and utterly defenseless. Andrew lifted Kevin high up and then slammed him down from overhead. A scream pierced the sky. I was laughing, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Aurora Smith was no longer smiling. Why is Andrew so strong? He had only been on stage for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, and Kevin was already struggling to stand. I'm still waiting for him to overexert himself until blood spills on the spot. He used all his strength just to barely stand up. The first thing he did upon standing up was to look at me in the crowd. I turned my gaze away in disgust. That faint affectionate look was nauseating. Kevin let out a long roar, trying to muster all his strength. But just as he was about to deliver a full-force blow to Andrew, he suddenly clutched his chest. Immediately after, a mouthful of blood sprayed out. Without Andrew even having to strike, he collapsed to the ground on his own. Sister, Andrew has won again. After several rounds, Andrew's identity as the Merman King was firmly established. Across the crowd, Andrew and I locked eyes from a distance. Aurora Smith was grinding her silver teeth in frustration after returning home. It took until the next day for my father's dizziness to subside. Upon learning that Andrew had won the competition and become the Merman King, Father was extremely excited and exclaimed, "Excellent," 3 times in a row. "It seems I can now confidently entrust the Smith family to you all." Before I could even speak, Aurora Smith became furious. "Father, I am the eldest legitimate daughter of this family. The family should be handed over to me. This time it's because my merman was framed. Otherwise the Merman King should have been ours." Father gave her a few half-hearted reprimands and intended to let the matter pass. I then pulled out that handkerchief from my bosom. "Father, yesterday during Andrew's match, Sister wanted to use this handkerchief to wipe his sweat, but it contained a large amount of sedative. Even you, Father, only woke up today. This concerns the fate of our family. My sister's intentions are unforgivable." Upon hearing this, Father instantly flew into a rage. Thankfully Andrew dodged it. If he had used this thing, who knows which family the Mermaid King would have ended up with. "You've always been competing with your younger sister since you were little, and I've always turned a blind eye to it, but it seems now that the Smith family is truly not suitable to be handed over to you." Aurora Smith widened her eyes in astonishment. She seemed unable to believe that her father would say such a thing. "Father, are you now trying to curry favor with Freya Smith just because her merman has become the Merman King? Bastard." My father slapped him across the face. "Get back to your room, Aurora Smith. You are no longer allowed to keep mermaids." Aurora Smith was dragged out. That last sentence cut off all her escape routes. Without a mermaid, what does she have to compete with me? Andrew and I hold a much higher status at home. After nightfall, Andrew's fishtail was swaying restlessly. I clicked my tongue in annoyance. "Are you going to sleep or not?" Andrew rolled over, his voice slightly hoarse. "Sleep." After a long while, I couldn't help but ask him, after Kevin collapsed, "What did you say to him?" A light chuckle from Andrew came from beside my ear. I told him that what he had been drinking was chicken blood. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.